Hi there, welcome to Subpar Stitches. My name is Hillary and this is my Flosstube channel. So my last video was on, I think, February 1st, either when I filmed it or posted it, I don't know. It's been a number of weeks since I posted. I try to post every 2 weeks, but life has been a little bit hectic. Just super briefly, and then we'll get into like the actual whips, but like, here's the deal. I'm getting married next weekend, but I also got married at the beginning of the month because I'm getting married twice to the same man, because why not? No, we had a religious private ceremony, and then we're having a public civil ceremony next weekend, and so it's just been a lot. Also, the week before our first wedding, my husband slash fiance slash also husband, I don't know how to call him right now. It's a weird interim. He slipped and fell in the shower and broke his 2 front teeth. And then I, hearing him fall, panicked, ran, and then I fell and I bruised up a lot of my body, and I'm only just now starting to feel better. Like this is all healed now, but it was like all a huge bruise, and my left knee and my stomach. Luckily, I didn't also bust my teeth out. Okay, got that. Then what else happened? Something else happened in there. And then my grandfather, he entered hospice care either yesterday or the day before, and that has just been difficult. So lots of stuff just happening. And no, Rob did not get his teeth fixed. They're still broken. So that's cute. Love that for us. Anyways, so it's been a lot, but I have been stitching. I went on my bachelorette trip too, so that was fun. But yeah, I did do a lot of stitching, I think. I have a pile, so that looks like a lot. I have some haul, I have a lot of starts, I have a lot of whips, and some knitting that I will show you. Just one thing that I worked on, but let's actually get into it. So first, I do have one finish, so whoop-de-doo. And this is not even fully finished. It's not even ironed because I finished it, took it off the hoop, and then immediately started something else. And this is the Wizard Biscornu by Tiny Modernist. And here is the top of it. You can see it's just the same wizard 4 times. And then there's like quite a bit of backstitch, which I think that's why this one took me so long. It's just, there was so much backstitch. And then you see, I don't know why I was like, I can't remember which way is up. So I had to like stitch a little arrow on there. Not that it matters because it's the same every which way, but I don't know, it just was bothering me. And then here is the bottom. It's just some moons and planets and then plenty more backstitch. But I made it my mission to at least finish this because I really want to finish Biscornu. And I did get some buttons, but I will show you those in haul because they're buried under the pile next to me. So I do need to like wash and iron this and then sew it together. I've heard it's not hard to sew Biscornus together. I've heard that it's annoying to sew Biscornus together. I've heard it is the most daunting task in the world to sew Biscornus together. So I guess I will find out eventually which one of those it is. So next we have new starts because that's the only thing I finished. There's probably not going to be that many finishes this year because I've decided foolishly to start one new project a week, every week for this year. I don't know why. It just seemed like the thing to do. So that being said, I have 6 new starts to show you. Okay, cute. So the first one I started in February, and this is the February Rose-Breasted Cockatoo by Lindy Stitches. I think I said the pattern name right. And I started this on February 7th, and there's like a thread hanging out of this, so I don't know which way it goes. So we're just gonna do one of these. So I feel like I got surprisingly good progress on this. It is being stitched 2/2 on a fabric called 207 by Bestitch Me. I think I got it in like a Friday night fight night, and I thought that the colors looked so nice together with it. Really all that's left is there's like a twig that the bird, or like a branch that the bird is sitting on, and then I gotta finish his little like crest here in his face, and then mostly just border work. So really I put a lot of oh, and his wing. So I've put almost 2,000 stitches into this. I think I've done pretty well. I think, yeah, I'm not doing any of the called for. I did a, well, DMC I'm doing the called for, but everything else I'm not, because I just didn't have them. And when I was sitting down to start this, I thought it had a full DMC conversion. I didn't check. That's my fault. So I ended up having to substitute a few colors. So like Weeks Dye Work Romance, I'm using DMC 4210. Weeks Dye Work Rose Quartz, I'm using Clover by Gentle Art. I'm using, for Classic Colorwork Strawberry Parfait, I used Poinsettia, and this is all that I have left. I like just barely made it with this one. And looking at the pattern, I won't need it again, thank God. Okay, so I just have a single strand left of that. And then I subbed in a couple of Miss Sada's silks. So I've got number 60 instead of Weeks Dye Works, is it Chablis? I think that's how you say that. And then I used the gray Miss Sada's silks number 22 instead of Oyster by Weeks Dye Works. The only issue that I'm having, and I might go rip this out, I'm not sure, is there's supposed to be like a difference in color between the like little mohawk thing and then like this band here, and I don't know if you can really, I guess you can kind of see one looks whiter and one looks pinker. And on the skeins, I feel like the colors I chose do look different enough, but stitched up they don't. So I'm going to finish stitching that, and then if I hate it, I can just go back and rip it out, but I think it'll be fine. I think nobody will make a stink of it. But yeah, I just was like really wanting to do some Valentine's Day patterns, so this one is what I kind of kicked off my February new starts with. Then on Valentine's Day, I started the Big Hearted Tiny Town, and this is by Heart in Hand. This is, I think, my first Heart in Hand project ever. And it came with some little buttons for the finished project. I'm using 32 count Heartland Belfast linen, which, what is the called for? Yeah, I branched away from the called for because I didn't have it, and so I just used this. And I did not get far at all. I only got like most of that first house. There's still some left that I need to do. And the reason I didn't get very far is because that weekend was my bachelorette party. So, you know, I went out of town. But my plan is, because this is like a long skinny pattern, I will use like the top half of this to make a drum with this one. And then I also have the Halloween Tiny Town. So I think I'll just use like the other half of this and do the same thing, as long as the colors go well, which I need to double check. But I think it is super duper cute. It stitches up pretty quickly, and I don't think this will take me that long. It's 176 stitches wide, but it's only 30 stitches tall, so really not that big of a deal. And it does have Classic Colorworks. I'm just using the DMC conversion 2/2. Something this itty bitty, like I probably wouldn't buy the specialty threads for, just because I feel like when it is that small, it's hard to really see a lot of the variegation. My next new start is another Biscornu, and I started this on February 21st. This is called the Piero Biscornu, and this is by a designer called Rowan and Rose Designs. I found them on Etsy, I think, and they had two Biscornus. They had this Piero, my French is terrible. They had that one, and then they had like another one that's like a jester, so I bought them both, and that other one will be a new start later this year. But I started this on the 21st. I've got about 1,400 stitches in it so far. I'm stitching it on Lagoon Ada. I believe it's 18 count, and I'm doing 2/1. I was just working on the triangles here. I started with the bottom piece because I don't know, that one called to me more. even though it's obviously very repetitive, it felt a little bit less repetitive than the top piece. I don't know. I don't know why I'm like, I love biscornues, even though I hate stitching mandalas, because like most biscornues are just like a mandala style repetitive pattern. It's a weird thing, but I really like the colors, and I feel like this blue is nice with it, even though I don't usually like stitching on this kind of lighter blue. I don't know. It feels like a very generic blue, but against these colors, I feel like this soft light blue looks really good. This is one that it's an easy take it to work project because it's a little bit smaller, compact, and even though it has color changes, it's like 4 colors total. So, and it'll have some backstitch, but I don't think it'll be too bad. Not that I'm anti-backstitch, it's just sometimes you are not in the mood. I don't know, that's just me. And then the last project I started in February was on February 28th, and this is the Stardew Valley Sal. So this is like you get to kind of choose what you stitch, kind of similar to the Hobbit one. And this yellow Ada was hand-dyed for me, and by doing this, it eliminates like 5,000 stitches because this is a full coverage piece because the backdrop is this yellow color. So instead of like buying 3 skeins of this yellow and stitching so much of it, it's just stitched right on it. And I feel like it gives it a little bit more depth to it because you can see like the raised stitches versus like the farm backdrop. And if you're not familiar, Stardew Valley is a video game. It's for the computer. You can get on Switch, you can get on the phone. Somebody in this room has all 3 versions of it. I don't know why. I love this game. I have hundreds of hours sank into this game. I don't know why I love farming sims because I grew up in a farming village, and you'd think I would just hate farms at this point, but I don't know. I've got it in my head now where I'm like, what if I got into homesteading? Which is so weird for me because growing up I was like, I gotta get out of this town. I gotta get out of this farming town. But so far what I've done is I kind of started the border. I had a lot going on this weekend that I had to start this one, so I didn't get too far. I got, what does it say, 553 stitches, so not super far, but we've got some of the like casks here where you can brew like wine and stuff, and these are empty because I haven't decided what I want to put in there yet. So you can fill these in with whatever object you want. I just haven't done it yet, but I did do the back stitching so far because this pattern has quite a lot of back stitching. So I have all the drops saved on my computer. This was like a Facebook thing. So just with the frame, there's already like 1, 2, 3, I think like 4 different customizations that you can add in. And I just need you guys to understand. So here's the colors. These are all the backstitch colors, and some of them look really similar. So I was like having to, I don't know if you can see, I was like folding this and holding it up to the pattern to see like which of these 2 browns was the backstitch that I was supposed to use. So that's a little bit difficult. But aside from that, I think this is going to be really fun, and I'm so glad that I got the dyed Ada, and I'm saving myself like 5,000 stitches because it's not that I don't enjoy stitching. It's just, I don't know. I feel like this is going to look way better, especially pulling it out again. Because at first I was like, is this too yellow? Am I making a mistake? But pulling it out now, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I love this. I can't wait to get back to this one. And that's just the frame. Like I will go back through and add all the little additions later. Like you get to choose which scarecrow, which if you didn't know, there's like a bunch of different collectible scarecrows in the game. And I'm going to choose the alien because of course I am. I love the alien scarecrow. Okay, and then on March 7th, I had the last of my weekly new starts, and this one is Coffee Time by Ink Circles. I love Ink Circles patterns, and I view this one as a set. So there's Coffee Time, there's Tea Time, and there's Cocoa Time. And I have a coffee and tea bar in my apartment, and I saw the coffee and tea time ones, and I was like, oh, I have to make those. And then I saw the cocoa time, and I was like, well, now I have to make that, and then also add hot chocolate to my coffee and tea bar. So I'm starting all 3 this year. I did buy the specialty threads for this one. So here are the colors all together. They're all classic Colorworks. They look so retro. They look so cool together. And I started with coffee. I actually prefer tea unless it's like a super fun coffee that you spend like $8 at like a fun cafe. But I decided to start with the coffee one because I don't know, I just did. And I dyed the fabrics for all three of these myself. So here is the coffee time one. I just named this, I think I named this fabric Baby Blue or something. Let me check. Yeah, I named it Baby Blue, and it is a 32 count even weave. And I just like decided, because the three fabrics they use, I think they're Weeks. They're all Weeks dye works, and I don't use Weeks. So I was like, well, I'm just going to dye my own and see what happens. This is my first ever time dyeing even weave. And I was worried that it was going to be difficult because I've only ever dyed Aida before. Aida cotton takes dye really, really easily, really, really saturated. Even weave, I've noticed just from buying it, is always typically a little bit lighter than its like linen and Aida counterparts when they're all coming from the same type of dye lot. So I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, but it was exactly what I envisioned the first step, or the first time I tried it. And I didn't want anything too dark and saturated because I want the colors of this to speak for themselves. So one thing I really like about this pattern is you can see like the design on the coffee carafe or whatever, and then where the coffee's filled up to, like the color obviously is distorted by it. So the designer like accounted for that. I like these little coffee beans. And then at the bottom in really big font, it'll say coffee. You can leave that off. This is part of her arrangements series, which is like my favorite thing. I don't like the Ink Circles mandalas. I mean, it's not that I don't like them. It's just, like I said, I don't like stitching mandalas. It's not for me. But I love the arrangements series because they're quick to stitch up. Like I think this was like 2 days worth of work, so it didn't take me very long. And they're just these like kind of small rectangular ones, but this one has the option of adding the word coffee at the bottom, which I will be doing because I'm going to frame them in 3 perfect square frames and then put them above my coffee tea bar when they're all done. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute, but I bet when I listen to this back, I'm going to be like, nobody's talked slower than you, Hillary. Okay, so that was my last planned weekly start, but I do have one more new start that I started on March 10th, and this is due to it being a Whip Go call. If you guys didn't know, I'm doing the Stitch Rovia, or I think the designer's name is Emma Congdon, I think. But she goes by Stitch Rovia on Etsy, and she has these patterns. There's 4 that I would consider the main ones, and it's like classic British colors of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Then she has like classic British colors of Halloween and Christmas. And I think there was a new one that just got released recently, but I cannot recall. But I kind of fell in love with the 4 seasons ones. So I have made modifications to all 4 of them because 1, I took the U out of the word colors because I live in the US. And 2, like some of the little squares didn't align with like American versions of that. So I have changed some, and I will go through and I'll point out whichever ones I changed. But I needed to start winter before winter ended. So, and it was also one of my Whip Go calls. So I put these on my Whip Go board, and I put each season on there twice to do 5 of the blocks, because each block is 324 stitches. So here is where I got to yesterday. I finished the Whip Go call. I'm actually done with my March Whip Go already, which I'm very proud of. This is my first year doing Whip Go, so being able to maintain it has been nice for me. But this is on 40 Count Blue Moon by Bestitch Me. It is 1 strand over 2, and this is the only one that I haven't put the top on, but it'll say colors of winter. And then each one will be, like, I call them like swatches, basically. Each one will be labeled. So the first one is, this one is Hot Chocolate. This one is Knitted Blanket. We have Red Berries. This one is called Fair Isle Jumper on the pattern, but I changed it to Fair Isle Sweater on my pattern. And then this one is Pine Cone. So I think this one doesn't have as many alterations as some of the other ones, because in England it gets pretty cold too, compared to where I live. So like some of them I just changed like the words. Like for example, they have one that on this one it's wellies. I just changed it to like rain boots or something like that. Because we don't really call them, at least not where I live, we don't call them wellies, we call them rain boots. But I do have a couple more of these to show you later in the video because they got called quite a bit for my whip go process. But I do have an active plan to finish all 4 of those within the year. I've been taking them to work and doing 1 swatch a day when I'm in office, so that would give me the opportunity to do a minimum of 3 swatches per week. I actually finished all 5 of these in 3 days because 2 of them were really easy. When they're like the solid block of color, it takes like no time at all. So I managed to finish the Whip Go Call in 3 days, which is pretty good for me with that count and that project. Okay, next I have all of my whips, and the first one I have is Too Much of a Good Thing, and this pattern is by Sabra. It says Sabra Publishing on it, and this is one that I have almost entirely modified. Like I left the text, and I'll see if I can show you like a mock-up because it's like the pattern is the pattern. It's like it's a handmade pattern. And I went into Stitch Fiddle and I recharted like 3 of the 4 things. So there were some radishes in one corner, some celery, some cottage cheese, and a diet soda. And this is like, it's from a book called Low Calorie Stitching. So it's like problematic diet patterns. But Amity found this pattern in the book and she knows I love cottage cheese. So she was like, I found you a cottage cheese pattern. So here is where I've gotten to. So this is everything I didn't change is what I've stitched so far. It says, can we ever have too much of a good thing? And then I got the cottage cheese in there, got the back stitch in there. And then I changed up here where the radishes or whatever they are would go. I'm going to put a pretzel because pretzels are one of my favorite snacks. And then I changed the Diet Cola, which is right here, to a Dr. Pepper because favorite soda. And then down here, I was going to put some different shaped noodles because who doesn't love a good buttered noodle? This is like the beigest meal that I could ever present to you. This is girl dinner is what I should call this pattern. And this is also on 18 count Lagoon. I have gotten 1,658 stitches apparently on this. So it doesn't have too much to go. I should just pull this out and like maybe 2 solid days of stitching, I can finish it. And then I will probably put it in a frame because it's just a funny pattern. And I like that I've become comfortable enough to modify patterns myself. I'm not sure how designers feel about that, but like it's nice that I can take this pattern where I'm like, this is kind of problematic, and I can turn it and flip it into something that I absolutely love. I put a few hundred stitches into Beach Rat, which is by the Artsy Housewife. I'm stitching this 1/1 on 32 count Darling David linen by Those Missing Stitches. I feel like you're probably not going to be able to see much progress on this just because it is 1/1, but here is where I'm currently at. I have approximately 2,000 stitches in this, and I need to get my butt in gear because I would like to get this to a place where I only have a couple hundred, maybe 100, maybe like 100 stitches left. And that way I can finish it at StitchCon with my friends because this was a StitchCon start last year. And then I want to put it in like a, kind of like a little oval frame. I'm just obsessed with touching the 1/1. I shouldn't have done my first ever 1/1 on 32 count. Like that was a mistake. It's not easy. And I should have done it on even weave, not linen. Linen, not easy 1/1 stuff. So, but I'm doing this in all the called for specialty threads, and also there's DMC too. So here's the, look at this mess. Look at all the, here's the specialty threads. I love that yellow. This is just some white DMC. And then I'm keeping it in this bag that Erin made. There's thread on it. It's got raccoons on it. And it's like a double, there's like 2 different folder places. So I am excited to finish this at StitchCon Weekend A and then replace a new group start. I just got the thread in my hair. A new like group stitch along will go in this. I'm trying to use like the bags that I get from people when I start like a sal. I try to use those for like sals with those people only. So maybe that won't always happen, but I feel like for this one it's good, especially because it's got 2 slots for 2 different sals. Next, I did 5 blocks on Colors of Spring, which is by Stitchrovia, which I already went, through all that with you guys. And actually looking at this chart here, this is the one that I changed the least on. Almost everything will be the same on this, except for there is one that's hot cross buns, which I don't know, maybe like there's like some stuff in other countries where they just call it something different and I just am not aware. So I don't want to be like, oh, I've never eaten one of those, but I don't think I've eaten one of those. But I'm changing it to puczki, which I'm not Polish, so I didn't say that right. But puczkis are like really popular around here during Fat Tuesday. We have a pretty big Polish population in Michigan. And so like growing up Catholic, I was constantly eating puczkis around Fat Tuesday. So I decided to change the hot cross bun to a puczki, but it's not in here yet. So I don't know why I felt like I needed to explain all that to you. But here is where I'm at. This one looks a little bit scattered because here is what happened. So this is April showers. And then I didn't feel like doing the next one because this is May flowers and it had a lot of color changes. And so I was just like, I'll just skip over to this one, which is easy. And this is sunshine. And then the next 2 were also really color change heavy. And I was like, I'll do those later. So then I came down here and I did eggshell and then bud green, which I might just call it like grass green or something. Because I feel like bud green has like weed implications. And then I did the rainbow because I just really wanted to do the rainbow. And it's this one that one of these is a half stitch off. I'm pretty sure it's the green. I think this is a half stitch off. I'm gonna have to like double check before I continue stitching. And so that's why I did like some of the random ones around here too. So I knew I shouldn't count off of this. I can count off of this to come down here. I can count off of this to come over here, and then the rest should play out pretty easily. But I gotta double check some counting on this because I know one of these is half a stitch off, and I don't think it's enough to be noticeable to where I would need to rip anything out. But once it's finished, if it is, it's just one of these blocks that I can rip out, and it's not going to be the end of the world to rip out and restitch 324 stitches, even though it feels like it. But yeah, so this one is probably what I'll work on next if nothing gets called for WIPGO, and I'll just start trying to finish spring. And I need to put those back stitches in as I go or else it'll never get done. And then I have on here that I worked on this Janlynn kit. So this is called Will Work for Cookies. I don't think I did very much. Yeah, I did like 100 stitches, so not too much. And there's like a thread hanging on here, but this is just like a little Christmas ornament. I got plenty of time to finish this. This is like a nice little, like, easy to carry around because you don't need a hoop or anything. It's just, it looks like it's perforated paper, but it's actually perforated plastic that is the color of perforated paper. So I don't think there's too much left with him. I just got to get his body, and then there's like a bunch of backstitch because this is like an older pattern and like backstitch just was the thing. And this is 2/1. I think it's a 14 count. This was a kit that Tara found on the freebie table at StitchCon, and she gave it to me because she was like, you need this creepy little Santa, and I was like, yes, I do. So I'm going to turn it into an ornament. It came with some wire to turn it into an ornament, so I'll just put some felt on the back and throw that wire on, and it'll be very easy to do. Then in both February and March, Colors of Summer got called, and so I knocked out both my WIPGO calls on this one. And this one I think is like the one I have the most progress on. So here's Colors of Summer. Oh, you know what I didn't tell you? All 4 of these are being stitched on Bestitch Me Color of the Month fabrics. So this is 40 count April Showers for the spring one. And then Colors of Summer is being stitched on 40 count Avocado by Bestitch Me. So this one I have probably the most significant progress. You can see I've got all the back stitching in for everything so far. What do we got here? So I had the first 4 done, and then for the first Whip Go Call, I did the picnic blanket, which this one is blue on the original pattern. I changed it to red because to me, I associate a picnic blanket with red. And then Starry Nights is my own design because originally this was like black currant squash, which is not something I eat. Or maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe it's called something else. And then we have a swimming pool. We have a giant sunflower, fresh cut grass, lobster tan. That one cracked me up. This one, it's called bucket and spade on the original pattern. I just changed it to shovel and pail because, like, in my vernacular, that's what I would say. Then we have a strawberry, mint chocolate chip. This one was Pebble Beach, but I changed it to fireworks. And I'm pretty sure I pulled the fireworks off of one of the other ones. Let me see. Yeah, so fireworks was on the color of autumn / colors of fall, but I associate fireworks with summer. And so I just moved it onto the colors of summer because to me, fireworks are a summer thing here. And then vanilla ice cream, which I feel like it looks a little bit like it's ghosting on the screen here, but in real life, I feel like you can see it fairly well. So this one's doing pretty well. I don't know how I managed to get all that backstitch in and get it all done like that. So I'm excited. And okay, I just realized that the one that has the miscount is Colors of Autumn. I'm going to make a note of that on my pattern so that I don't forget. I knew it was something green. So here's Colors of Autumn. I didn't work on this, but I figured since I'm showing you all of them, I might as well. It was this guy is half a stitch over. So I did the one to the left and the one to the bottom so that I can't count off of that. It would be impossible to, it would be stupid to count off of that for anything. So now everything else should fall in line. So I guess when I was doing Colors of Spring, I just really didn't want to do any of the ones that had a ton of color changes. I just skipped around a bunch. So those are looking great. I'm excited to make an interchangeable display with those. And as much as I am not like, I like high counts of fabric. Like I think 40 count looks great with stuff. I'm not enjoying doing these ones on 40 count. I think I like 40 count for like smaller projects, but each one of these is like 10,000 or so stitches. And so it's just not like my favorite. And I think because they're just like big blocks of color, I think I like 40 count when there's like a little bit more shaping with stuff. I don't know. I just am not obsessed with it for this project, but I like the outcome of it. So whatever. So the final whip that I had is, you guys better be proud of me. Been working so hard on this. It is my Epic Pokemon Generation 1 Cross Stitch by Lord Libidin. This is a total of 115,200 stitches. That number is burned into my brain because I've been working on this since January 1st of 2023. It is now 2025. So this is like the 3rd year it's been in my whip rotation. I don't like that for me. I know for a lot of people, like a 3rd year on a project is like not a big deal to them. But for me, I'm like, this is insane. This shouldn't take me this long, even though it's a massive full coverage and I've got tons of other projects. I don't know why. I just am like holding myself to a weird standard on this, but I finally found my rhythm with this. I finally got my groove because last year I barely worked on it at all because the frame I was stitching it in, it wasn't working for me. So I got the biggest Nurge hoop and I've been working on this in my frame and it's so much faster now. I can stitch on this so much better. And I worked pretty much exclusively in here the past couple of weeks. And so my goal is 840 stitches a week, which is about 2 stitch days. So like Monday, Tuesday, I come home from work and I just put in like 420 stitches each day or more if I so desire. And that will set me up for a finish by the end of 2026, which there's no way I can finish it this year. So I just have to accept that. I just have to accept that this is going to be a project that took me, I guess, 4 years, because 2023, 4, 5, yeah, 4 years. Well, that's what I get for not working on it for like an entire year. So that's my fault. That's my bad. But I'm hoping that I can get it earlier in 2026 versus later. But like I said, I've been picking whatever color needs to be put in from like the furthest side over here and then just working this way with it. And then I'll come back over once I've exhausted what I can reach and pick a new color and just go over. And that's been working pretty well. And I've been able to finish a couple more Pokemon. I don't know how many actual like full page finishes I have. But I do know that I'm at like 32 or 33% done. So that's cool. That's good. Not too much more to say about this because it stresses me out. Even though I want it done, it's a lot of colors, a lot of color changes, and it's a lot of fabric to manage. So those were all of my whips. I just have a little bit of knitting to show you before I get into haul. So basically, there is this designer who designs like a ton of double knit scarves, and my little brother last year sent me a picture from one of them and was like, hey, do you still knit? And I was like, first of all, you know I still knit because a week ago I sent your girlfriend a pair of hand knit socks for her birthday, you dummy. So I knew it was just his roundabout way of asking me to knit the scarf for him. And I talked to Tara from Willed Woman Crafts because despite the fact that I've been knitting since I was 11 years old, I have not like expanded on a ton of techniques. And I knew that Tara had done double knitting and like stuff like that. So I was like, is this like, what am I in for? And she was like, it's not that bad. Like, you'll get used to it. So I bought the stuff for it and then I sat on it forever. And then Tara ended up picking up one of the scarves. She picked a over the garden wall scarf, and Cam the Stitcher, I guess, also was starting with her, and they were like going to start together. And I was like, well, Tara, tell me when you start because I need somebody to force me to start this scarf so that I can learn this technique. And so I ended up not like officially starting with them, but starting with them. Even though like, I don't even think Cam knows that I started with them because I was just doing it. But I'm doing the Katamari scarf. And here is, I've finished the whole first page and then I got into the second page. I had to rip it all out once. I got like 10 or 15 rows in, and then I had to rip it all out and restart it because I made a mistake, but that was my first time ever double knitting. I've never done like any kind of color change or anything like that, but I feel like, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job. Like, I feel like the side looks really good. The bottom looks really clean, despite this being a like new cast on to me. And the only thing I'm not obsessed with is, and I think it's just my tension, is like how it flares out here, but that's something I can fix in blocking. And it's so cozy, it's so squishy. It's knit with fingering weight yarn on, where is this? Size US 0 needles, which I originally bought bamboo ones, and then I was like, these are gonna snap. So I was in a yarn store, and so I ended up finding these, and I was like, I'm gonna buy these like titanium or some kind of metal, I don't know. I bought them, and they have been working really well. I really enjoy the double knitting process. It's really fun. It reminds me of cross stitch because you are knitting off of a chart, so really it's not so different. And I did make like 1 or 2 small errors with the chart, but I don't think that is noticeable to somebody who's not like staring at it. So, you know, this is a learning process. My brother can take what he gets because he's getting a scarf for free that costs a lot in labor and materials. So if he complains, I will punch him. That's all I have to say about that. But yeah, I was working on it pretty steadily. I've slowed down because just all this other stuff going on in my life. So probably pick that back up after the wedding. He'll get it by December. How about that? That's when you need it anyway. And then haul. So I have a little bit of haul. So like I said, I went to that yarn store. It was actually, we went to Traverse City for my bachelorette party, and I naturally Googled like yarn / needlework stores in the area. And I told my sister, I was like, hey, I found a yarn store. We gotta go. And I found this really, really pretty yarn and ended up picking this up. It's in the color indigo, and it's by somebody. Araucania Yarns. Araucania? Here, I'll show you guys the tag. I'm not super familiar with like hand dyers and stuff like that yet when it comes to yarn because it's very expensive and I don't need to get into that hobby. Even though I've been knitting forever, I don't need to get into the hobby of buying yarn. So, but I bought this. I will make a pair of socks out of it eventually. And then while I was there, I also bought some buttons for my biscornu. So I had my sister help me pick these out, but for the wizard one, I got these little purple stars that I showed you, and then for the Pierrot one, I thought these little like kind of Target black and white ones would look good. So I bought those while I was there too, and then of course the knitting needles. So I need to finish my biscornu. And then I bought some fabric. So I bought, this is so annoying. So I bought this. This is like a huge piece of 18 count white Aida because I was looking for regular, I wanted even weave because I'm going to be starting my Monopoly pattern, and that's one of my plans soon, but I couldn't find the right color of fabric, so I was just going to dye it myself. And I wanted to do even weave, but I couldn't find the size of even weave that I needed in the count that I wanted, and so I was like, I'll just use Aida because that's easier. So I got this. It's 60 by 39 inches, and I gotta tell you, it is so stiff. It's like, I'm gonna soak this in some hot water because it just, can you hear that? It's just a really, really stiff fabric, but also Amazon just shipped it like this in this bag. Like, I can't show you because my address is on it, but it's like, they just slapped a shipping label on this. So I walked out of my apartment door and there's just like a sack, like this bag of fabric just on my front porch there. So I was like, okay, thanks Amazon. Weird. What if somebody stole my very precious Aida fabric? Like, come on. But yeah, so that's specifically to be dyed for the Monopoly pattern that I will be starting soon. And then I went to 123 Stitch because I needed to finish kitting up a couple other of my weekly starts. So I have 32 count vintage Sahara Belfast linen, and I don't know who these are by, but here's what this one looks like. And I think, I don't remember which one's for which. And then this is 36 count doubloon, and these are both for a couple new starts. So one is for coffee and eggs, which I think I'm going to do that. I need to see if I want to do that in the called for, because I think it calls for specialty threads, or if I just want to do DMC. And then the other one is It's a Beautiful Day. And that one I picked up at StitchCon last year, and I've been meaning to start it, and I haven't, so I put it in one of my weekly starts. Those will be both started in April, back to back. And I just needed some fabric for it because I bought all the threads and all like the little accessories and stuff. But it says like It's a Beautiful Day to stitch something, and I just thought it was a really cute, like, be a fun little one to have in my craft room. So bought a couple neutral fabrics, nothing too crazy. So that is, oh, and I bought a few buttons from Joann's, but they're like somewhere. I just wanted to do my like final like pass through of Joann's before they, are gone forever. Rest in peace, Joann. We hardly knew ya. But I just bought some plain, buttons with like the 4 holes so that in the future, when I inevitably make 10,000 more biscornus, I have some fun colored buttons on hand. Oh, speaking of fun colored buttons, hang on. I guess I do have one more thing of haul. So I inherited from my grandmother, because she was like, all right, I'm done with this, the ancestral cookie tin filled with sewing supplies. She was like, there's a box of buttons on my dresser for you. Just go in and grab it. It's in a tin. You'll see it. And as soon as I walked in and I saw this lid, I was like, Granny, why you gotta do this? So there's like a bunch of like sewing needles, and then just buttons and buttons and buttons. So I was like, oh, and she gave me a hole punch. I don't know why. She was just like, I already have a hole punch, so you need to take this. And I was like, okay, grandmother, I will take the hole punch. Yeah, just a bunch of, I haven't gone through it yet because my grandma's so weird when she gives me stuff. She's like, she'll always be like, well, when I'm done with this, which what she's really saying is when I die. So she's like handing me these buttons, and then she's like, when I'm done, I want you to take these like German bird carvings that she has. And I was like, okay, Granny, like, so I don't know. It's like, as much as I love this, I'm like, I don't want to go through this right now. But yeah. So plans. So I have 2 planned weekly starts that I think will be getting back into the swing of like 2 weeks. The next one might be in 3 weeks because I'm getting married next weekend, and then the weekend after that I'll be on my honeymoon. So then probably the weekend after that. But I know today I'm starting Solyanka by Owl Forest Embroidery. I have the Owl Forest threads, so I'm excited about that. That'll be my first time stitching with Owl Forest threads. And then the week after, so the week of my wedding, I'm going to start Rolodex Morning Sampler. And it's so funny, when I bought that, I was like, oh, I love this sentiment. It's so cute. I didn't know it was like a song lyric. And I was like, oh, people are going to think I'm a dork if I put this up. But I like it, and I like the pattern, so I'm going to do it anyway. And then continue to just do 840 stitches a week on Pokemon to stay on track. And yeah, those are my plans. This video was long, but not as long as I thought it was going to be. So now I got to clean all this up because I've got a bunch of stuff to do before my wedding, and I am stressed. I'm pressed. I'm stressed. I don't know what's going on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in a few weeks. Oh wait, I do have one more thing that I want to show you. My other plan, this is like so dumb. I didn't need to stop everything for this. But for my cake topper that I want to show you guys, my brother 3D printed this little circle, and I've got to stick these guys down somehow. I might use like a double-sided tape. But these are like the Just Nan wedding mice, Romeo and Juliet. And Rob was like very much into the idea of using them as the cake toppers, so that's what they're gonna be. So I'm excited about that. I get to incorporate cross stitch into my wedding day. Great. Anyways, that's actually it. For real. Okay, bye.